Hello, everyone. My name is Alia Sandovar, and together with my co-host David Kislet, we welcome you to the 2020 Playful Creative Summit. This conference is unique because we want to focus on having playful atmosphere with authentic conversations with makers, designers, creatives, and play experts from all over the world. And I'm here today with Sean Keeton. He is in Los Angeles, California. Did I get that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. And you are the art director for Hidden Variable Studios. Welcome. We're really happy to have you on the summit. And let me go ahead and introduce you to everyone who's watching so they know a little bit about you. Sean Keeton is a Los Angeles-based video game art director, muralist, and gallery artist. His work is a manic, dayglo celebration of anxiety and empathy, a declaration that the parts of us that are broken are also what make us vibrant. Ooh, I love that. That sounds so fun. He has served as art director on video games for Sega, Hidden Variable, and Three Rings. He regularly competes in Secret Walls, the world's largest live art battle. Oh my gosh, we have to talk about that. I don't know what that is, but it sounds really cool. He also animates live in real time for the stand-up comedy show Picture This with comedians including Adam Conover, Jimmy Pardo, and Margaret Cho. His fine art and animation has been exhibited and screened around the world alongside the works of Matt Groening, oh, that's my Dutch coming out, I guess, Pendleton Ward, Audrey Kawasaki, Mark Ryden, and many, many more. Yay! Welcome, Sean. I'm so happy to have you. How are you
Yeah,
today?
happy to be here. Good, thanks.
Yeah, I love that picture behind you. What is it? Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so it's a painting I did that was on the stage at the Hollywood Improv a couple weeks ago, and it is part of a little bit what you mentioned in the intro, which is this idea that these negative emotions like anxiety and stuff that we think of as negative can be sort of recontextualized and thought of as something more vibrant and not that different from the energy that could excite us, that it's sort of a similar energy, but it's coming through a different pathway where we're labeling one negative and one positive. And by sort of, it's easier to recontextualize anxiety or depression or fear or these things and not than it is to push directly against them. And so if you can sort of just understand that it's okay, that they're okay feelings to have, they just don't need to grip you and take you over, then you can sort of diffuse them and have I think a calmer, more peaceful, happy life.
Yeah, I love that. And you know, this reminds me of like when I was doing my PhD, I would have like a lot of tension and pressure because of it. And my advisor was constantly telling me, Alia, don't think of it as like anxiety, just think of it as creative tension.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, like this, like you can look at it from a different angle, and then rather than making anxiety, like fuel it into a different kind of way of being.
Yeah, I mean, one of the main things that causes anxiety is that you care about something, right? You're about to do something new, something novel, that also something you care about, that you want it to go well or you want it to be something really great. That's what causes people anxiety very often, and so it's an indication that it's something you should do and move forward. So if you can think of anxiety sometimes as a signal of what to do instead of what to avoid, it can be a good compass for realizing what you really care about and what matters to you.
Oh, that's really great. And I like that. So if I'm feeling anxious about something, it's actually a clue about how important it is to me in the direction I need to go.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, fantastic. I like that so much. All right. So I want to also pick a little bit on your bio and understand some of the things. But before we get there, the first question we ask all our speakers, it has to do with what was your favorite game or toy that you played with as a child?
Right. So I'm going to pick as a toy, I guess. It's just a big bucket of sidewalk chalk I had as a little kid in preschool. And so me and my dad would draw these big worlds on the sidewalks outside of our apartment, and then pretend to jump in them and run around inside of them. And so that was like a really, I mean, it meant as probably more to me than any other playing I did as a kid. And because it was something we were inventing and creating.
Yeah.
And I think it's also probably a lot of why I ended up gravitating towards making video games, is that one of my favorite things about that is video games are that you get to run around inside another world that you can't be in outside of it. And I like that more than the puzzle solving or specific mechanics. And that also, video games and things like sidewalk chalk and art supplies and these other Legos and these kind of toys that you are built, you have a lot of agency to figure out what the play is going to be and what the thing's going to be, that you don't have when you watch a TV show or a movie or read a book. That you're helping craft the experience yourself. I really like.
Yeah, I like that too. And you can, and depending on the design, you can have so many more choices or a way of playing, and yeah, and I like this term agency, that you're sort of like in charge of your own path in the game.
Yeah.
All right, so our very next question is how, I mean, you are both a playful person and a creative person, so you can define both these terms or pick one. So
Sure.
usually we ask, like, what is playfulness for you, or what is creativity for you? So, you take a pick and decide.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're pretty closely connected to me.
Yeah.
And the playfulness, I guess I would take as keeping open to possibilities and not too early in a process of making something. I mean, I'm going to find playing the fullest a little bit in terms of my work, but like trying to keep very open in the beginning stages of a process and not knowing necessarily what the end result's going to be. That you can feel there's some kind of energy there or something interesting, but you're not sure why, and you're sort of picking up rocks and looking under them and seeing, just seeing what there is before you try to, edit your own work or make sure it's good or worry about anything like that. You're just exploring and seeing what's interesting. And then I think the creativity comes in where once you start to find a bunch of disparate, interesting things, that you start figuring out how they connect to each other or don't connect to each other. And I think the most exciting bits of creativity for me tend to be when I've sort of have like 10 different things that I'm exploring and I don't know why, right? I don't know why any of those are, I just can tell something's interesting. And then sometimes there's this moment where all 10 things I find out actually are one thing. And there's a core that connects all of that together. And that's really exciting when you go, oh, it feels not like I didn't even, that I wasn't inventing this thing, but it was already there. And I like, maybe dusted a little bit of dirt off this buried thing and thought it was these different things, but really I just found the roots and it's all one thing. And I've, sort of discovered something rather than made it up.
That sounds super, super cool. Is there like a recent example of something that you were working on that you discovered?
It's always hard for me to remember the specifics of it. Well, I can give, yeah. I'm actually looking at some art of mine right now to try to come up with a, yes, there's a piece, I wish I could like show it to you right now, but there's a lot of times I'll make a piece of art and, oh, yeah. Oh, but okay. It's a little personal, so I'm gonna have to be a little vague right here.
Okay.
But there's a painting I recently did that was a skull with a bunch of eyeballs sort of floating out of it in this mist out of the eyes. And I didn't know why I was painting it at the time. I just was sort of following this impulse. And what I learned at the same time I was painting it, I realized I was anxious about this this new life event thing I was entering into.
Yeah.
And worrying about what the future was going to be in ways that weren't knowable.
Yeah.
And I realized, oh, what I'm painting is somebody really trying to see. There's all these eyeballs coming, trying so hard to see, but it's clouded in the smoke that it's coming out of the eyes. So there's no amount of like looking towards the future is really going to answer this question. And so why be afraid of something you can't see? And if you think this is something interesting, go forward with, just go forward with it rather than, than worrying about possibilities that you can't you can't predict and you can't see for now.
Oh,
So sometimes the work sort of will tell me emotionally something I need to know. And the more complicated the work gets, games and books and stuff, the more likely there's a bunch of things I need to know all at once that have that sort of core thing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I like that. Yeah, maybe we can share a link. I think, well, we'll share a link to your website, and some of your work is there too, so maybe people can take a look at it there.
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to know now a little bit more about the secret walls, because I don't know what that is. The largest live art battle, but I have no clue what it means and
Yeah.
what do you do and how many people compete
Sure.
and la 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 la.
So it started in London, and then they and was done there for years, and then sort of spread throughout the world. And then they moved the headquarters to Los Angeles, where I am. And what it is it's usually it's 2 teams of 3 versus 3, and they give everyone only buckets of black paint and black markers, and that's all you can use. And you
Wow.
can't sketch anything or anything advanced. And so then you're on like maybe 11-foot tall walls or something. I'm not sure how, I think the wall height changes sometimes, but and you get 90 minutes for the 2 teams to make a piece of art together. And one of the things I love about it is that you're just have to start. You can't plan in advance really or sketch, and you have to react to what your teammates are doing because you're all filling the same space together. And there's no erasing or painting over because it's just black paint. So it forces you to pivot in the moment and be creative and playful and not overthink things and just make something. And the time limit too. There's no time to stop and worry about it. And then at the end of it, the audience votes based on they have like a voice or a noise meter, that measures the cheering of who wins and stuff. But it's a competition, but it's also like a really friendly, like everybody likes each other, and there's not, it's like a really nice, friendly competition as opposed more like a sports game or something than
Yeah, that sounds so cool. And is it only invite only, or can anyone participate?
They have on the website on Secret Walls a sign up form. Okay. So that they will consider you. You can't just sign up and do it, but they will look at your work and consider you if you sign up. So I think I would just encourage everybody who wants to do anything as a creative is to, if you want to do something, sign up. And if they don't pick you, it's okay. I think people, and I've myself in the past did this too, think they're not good enough to do something, and so they don't go for it. And you're always going to be harder on yourself than you should be. I think as a creative, and so just go for a thing. You don't have to be. I mean, even a job in the games industry, if you don't quite meet all the things that are requirements on a resume, on the job opening, send your work anyways and apply. Like those are what we would prefer to have from you. But if you're still the best candidate and nobody with all those things applied, you might shine some other way that we didn't imagine, and we would still want you. So.
Yeah, this is a really good point, because a lot of times you read something like this and like a job description, and you can easily get discouraged. And it was only until after I talked to some recruiters that they're like, no, this is our wish list.
Exactly.
If we had the perfect candidate, this is what we would want. But it's not like we're expecting a human to have every single one. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and we've definitely hired people that even had less of those wish list things than other people, because you talk to them in an interview or something, and you go, oh, they're really excited about this, and they have a really interesting perspective on this, or they offer something we don't have.
Yeah.
And you can't always predict those things. You're hiring a human, not a checklist of skills.
Yeah, exactly, and it's much more valuable. Also, some skills can really be learned. Right? Like, and it's much better to have a personality that is like positive, committed, talented than someone who already came in with that skill set. Because if it's something that I can be trained in a month, but I haven't done it yet, then that's easier than,
Yeah, you can't replace enthusiasm and a good spirit.
No, absolutely. Is there anything that you do like in your daily life to keep the playfulness or creative flow going?
Yeah, I mean, a ton of stuff. There's the, a lot of people say like that I think it was amateurs wait for inspiration, but professionals, show up every day to work,
Yeah.
something along those lines. And so one thing I do is to just, I just draw every day, at my job, but also
Mhm.
afterwards, at home. And the reason to do all the so much of the reason to do all that personal work is that I think it's important to do stuff that doesn't have to be for anything specific,
Mhm.
to have exploration and playfulness that isn't trying to solve a direct problem. When you're working on a game, there's a pretty soon in the process there starts to be a lot of direct problems that you're trying to solve rather than general exploration and
Yeah.
creativity.
Yeah.
And you need just playful open space. So I have sketchbooks that I just draw on every day, but I also will set aside specific sketchbooks that I'm not allowed to do good drawings in, that I
Oh.
have to do bad drawings, and I'll do the worst, like the dumbest, worst thing I can do on the first page to ruin the sketchbook on purpose, to get over the idea that that sketchbook's going to be good because I've already ruined it. And the reason to not try to do something good is that it lets me be playful and explore and do things that are likely to fail, but every once in a while open up a whole new path of creativity that I couldn't have got to if I was worried about doing something good. And then of course there's other sketchbooks that are for like life studies and doing good things and polished work and stuff. But I think physically separating the sketchbooks just gets my brain into the state where it's okay to fail and mess around and play. And I'll often draw just in Sharpie in those too, because it's kind of an inelegant blunt tool. And it's a little like sometimes writers, when they're doing a first draft, will
Mhm.
use software that doesn't have a backspace key. It's the same idea that you can't edit this, you can't worry about fine detail at a stage where that's not what's appropriate yet. That's you can't edit work and while you're first making it, it's like a later stage. And so I try to separate that stuff and keep a playful space.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because of course, in the yeah, I learned this when I was learning how to paint, that the you can have a really good idea, but if you're not really good in your technique, it won't come out the way you want to. But
Mm-hmm.
when you're just creating and trying to get out of your head, focusing on technique
Yeah.
gets you out of that
Yeah.
space of just like, let me just get the idea out there and like,
Mm-hmm.
let's see what happens and not think about it. And
Yeah.
yeah, once in a while, through this, I try to run these like 5 days playful creative projects, where I send people an email of like a project that they can do in 15 minutes for that day, that makes them
Oh yeah.
like get out of their mind,
Mm-hmm.
or like out of their box, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those are really fun. Even I have fun doing them
Yeah.
when I
That's
make
great.
them, because it forces me to just take a little bit of time to do stuff that is silly, that has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's so important. I really like that. And do you have any other tips of this kind, for like wanting to really sort of like leave the anxiety behind, and allowing the playfulness to come up?
Yeah. I mean, well, I did a pretty extreme version of it. Years and years, like about 3 years into my career, where because it the thing I loved most, which was making art, was literally now how I paid rent and ate
Yes.
food. It became very serious,
Yeah.
and literally was serious in a number of ways. It was literally how I survived. Um, but I didn't get into art because I wanted it to be really serious and stressful. So I did I had sort of my drawing outside of my job had largely dried up because it felt so serious. It felt like
Mhm.
anything I made needed to be of professional quality because I was supposedly a professional, and should be a portfolio piece too, because I needed to get jobs in the future
Yeah.
whenever the one I was in ended. And so everything got so serious that I wasn't doing art outside of my job, what I was getting paid to do. And so I decided to, for 1 year, not show anything I made outside of my job, but to make stuff every single day. So I got a thick sketchbook and decided to just draw on it. And it started off with just the 15 minutes, sort of like you mentioned, every day, but got longer over time, sort of naturally. But the idea was, no matter how great anything I make is, it won't become a portfolio piece, and I won't post it on social media. It's just for me, and that that sort of made it so it brought a lot of the, there was no stress to make it good because it's just for me. And also because I was doing it every single day, your brain can't stay anxious about that kind of stuff. If it's every day, you're like, yeah, if this drawing goes poorly, there's I just keep doing hundreds of these. It doesn't, that's not going to be a referendum on how good I am if this one isn't good at this point. And so when that year ended, I sort of had an explosion of stuff come out where I, the style that I do for my personal work came out of that year.
Wow.
And sort of everything I've done since sort of has seeds in that one year of yeah, just making things playful again, really. And art did become really fun, and I have so much fun making everything I make now. And of course, sometimes, there's a hard problem or something that, I don't feel like solving in that moment or whatever, and you have to power through. But overall, art has been super joyous since that moment. And I think if I hadn't done that, I don't know if it would be at this point. So I don't know that everyone has to do it for a year. If but maybe carving out portions of your time on a regular basis or daily basis that are not for that, even if it's 15 minutes and then you go make something for a portfolio or whatever, but just having some kind of space that is really just for you, and that no matter what comes out of it, it's just for you and not for the outside world, I think can really help with it.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And it's really cool that your dedication led to like a whole new style for yourself from it. But this is how it works, right? Like it's like these incremental steps, right? Taking one moment a little bit every day makes a huge difference over the course of the year, for example. Yeah.
And I never set out to have like a personal style too. Like it just, I don't think you could, right? I don't think you like it. Just if you just keep doing a little bit every day, you start to gravitate towards stuff and define, shapes that you like, or different, themes or colors that you like, and that starts to form a path. But you can't see it ahead of you until you're on it.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think this practice of a little bit every day, it's something also I've heard other people say, and it works, I think, not just for creativity or playfulness, but it pretty much works for everything that you want to do well in your life.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you want to achieve a big goal, that like write it down every day, or like these kinds of things. So
I think there's a professor, I'm gonna forget what university it's at, but there's a professor, Dr. Fogg, that I think talks about that a lot. He has this Tiny Habits books and stuff that he writes, and I think I think several, I don't remember which ones, but two of the like major Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, two of those I'm pretty sure were figured out in his class, or by someone taking his class at the time at least. And but this idea that you just he has this thing, I think, floss one tooth. If you want to get used to flossing, just do it every day. Make it so small that it feels dumb to not do it, that it's just like, I might as well. And then eventually it's a habit, and you'll do the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. And actually that's also a like one of the ways in which games really work well, because they don't give you like okay, yeah, you start and then you start fighting the boss right away, for example. Right? Like you first learn very simple ways of like grabbing stuff, jumping, getting points, or whatever you need, and you slowly build towards eventually finishing that level and then maybe doing that. But you don't start at level 10 right away. And
right.
and so
the idea that I think is that like
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say, I think the idea of that is that each step of it needs to feel really achievable and in your grasp, and something that you're excited to do. And if you put the bar really high and go, I need to make something really great, or I need to do something really complicated, or a big task, or well, I really need to sit down and write or do whatever it is for 2 hours, or you're making it really easy to fail and not so excited and fun to do. And I think like you said in games, if you just make each goal so incremental that you just go, oh, I can definitely do that. Oh, that's right there. I can definitely do that. It's fun, and it makes you want to keep going, and because um, you know that the next step's really achievable. And then eventually you get to a point where you go, oh, wow, this goal that would have seemed impossible at the beginning, get maxing out my level in a um, online game or something that would have seemed impossible before, you eventually realize, oh, that's actually within reach, but it was all these micro goals that the game sort of put in front of you that made you realize that's something you could actually do. Um, that if they had showed you that at the beginning, you'd just be like, that's hundreds of hours of I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, there's no way I'm going to invest this much time in my life doing this. Oh, I mean, I'm also curious to hear about maybe what you're currently working on.
Mhm.
Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm art directing the mobile version of Skullgirls, which is a 2D hand-drawn fighting game. That's at Hidden Variable. And then of course Skullgirls are originally created by Lab Zero, so we were working with them to make the game. And we're also prototyping a different game right now, but that's NDA, so I can't
Yeah,
get into
don't
too much
worry.
about that. And then on top of that, I in my free time I do paintings for gallery shows, and I've started doing murals last year, so I've been doing some of that. Yeah, so I'm always working on all kinds of art at the same time, because I feel like my theory is if you work on a bunch of different stuff, it all informs the other stuff in ways you
Mhm.
couldn't imagine. And I feel like even these like comedy shows I do in live art battles and stuff. There's stuff that I've brought into my games work from that stuff, and stuff that I brought into my personal work from my games work, and it all it all affects the more different things you try to do, the more yeah, you can't do anything in a vacuum. It all influences each other. There's like the comedy show I do is literally live animating on a screen behind the comedians while they're doing their set, and I don't know what they're
So
going to say,
cool.
so I'm like improv drawing behind
Yeah.
them, and then start making fun of the drawings, and we go back and forth. And that hello.
Hey.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think we're back.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. It
Yeah,
like suddenly froze. It's possible it's the internet here, although it's been pretty good today. But yeah.
yeah,
So you were talking about the drawing in the
right.
show. Yeah.
Yeah, so I do this uh, comedy show where I live animate behind the comedian while they do their set. And what that means is I'm like doing really fast doodles in real time, not really knowing what they're going to say, but as they're saying stuff, trying to drawing it and moving it around in Photoshop and flipping it and rotating it and sort of doing this like real time animation. And that's made me had to learn how to make stuff that's engaging so fast that you just invent new kinds of expressions and stuff that work without a lot of careful, slow drawing. And some of that stuff actually has made it into my games work and my personal work, because you end up learning, oh, this is actually a funnier or a more interesting or dynamic expression than something I would have done if I was trying to be careful. But I never would have predicted that doing that show would have influenced my like careful work, and then my video game work influences my personal work, and all that stuff happens, and you never I don't think you can predict how that stuff will happen, but the more different stuff things you will play with and explore, the richer all of your work gets.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, and it goes to what you were saying at the beginning, which is like you don't realize that all these pieces kind of are playing
Yeah,
together
right.
until eventually you find there's actually like a
Yeah,
root thing
yeah.
in
And
between.
I do end up sort of thinking of all my art as ultimately one piece of art. It's just different facets of the same piece of art in a way.
Oh, that's so cool. What do you think is like one or two myths that people might have about your work?
Oh, interesting. Hmm. It's I don't know if it's hard to know exactly what everybody else thinks of their work. There's definitely people that occasionally send me, will send me stuff that like makes me go like, oh wow, they get it much more than I could have imagined, and that's really cool. I think probably, so there's a lot of skulls
Yeah.
and skeletons and stuff in my work, and I think probably there's probably a bunch of people that think I'm trying to draw stuff that's like scary or spooky and stuff,
Uh-huh.
or like doom and gloom. But all of my pieces are about like vibrant hope
Mm.
and excitement and enthusiasm, but it's an enthusiasm rooted in um, having actually gone through real emotional stuff and having
Mm-hmm.
been a person on the planet, and things aren't easy, things are hard, but there's a sort of a transformation and a strength and a beauty in having gone through hard stuff and figuring out how to still be excited and connected, and realizing that everybody sort of goes through that. Oh, I actually have a pretty direct. There's a particular what looks like a particular character of a skeleton I do,
Yeah.
and I get asked a lot, like, what's that character's name, and what's that, asked about that character. But I think of it as that as everybody all at once and not as a single character. There's
Oh.
a thing I like about drawing skeletons, which is that it is, instead of drawing a specific person, you are kind of drawing every human all at once.
Mm.
That if take away the skin and the muscle,
Yeah.
we all kind of look the same. And so I like, to me it's a universal character, not a specific character. So that's definitely probably the most common. I won't want to say misconception, because I think it's valid for anyone to
Mm.
have any connect in any way to the art, but it's
Yeah.
not what I was thinking of when I made it, certainly.
Yeah. Oh, that's really, really cool. Yeah, I like hearing that. Now I'm gonna go back to your website and look at your art more closely. um, so yeah, we're just about time wrapping up, but there's a couple of
Yeah.
questions I always like to finish up with.
Mhm.
What is your favorite creative or playful word?
Oh, um,
It could be a phrase too.
I mean, probably just enthusiasm. I
Okay.
always like to see, like, just excitement and energy, and what somebody was passionate about. Um, uh, yeah, if I can get a sense of what someone was excited about when they made something, I feel like that's always um, the most fun stuff to read or play through, or interact with in any way. It's something that shows the enthusiasm someone had for making the thing, that they were
Oh,
having fun when they made it.
cool. Okay, enthusiasm. I love that. I love that word. And is there anything that I didn't ask that we didn't cover that you just want to share?
Um, hmm, think for a second. Yeah. If there's something you want to do in the world or make in the world, just start doing it. Like, you don't have to know how to do it. You won't. If you haven't done it before, by definition, you will not know how to do it. So don't wait until you have the knowledge.
Yeah.
Don't spend too much time planning the project. Just start making a thing, and make it. Might be the wrong. It will be the wrong thing to make, but it will show you the right thing to make next. And so just start making a thing. I made a comic for a long time that I really loved and cared about, but it was a graphic novel, and I probably will make short comics again, but it did show me I don't think I want to make graphic novels, at least not now.
Yeah.
Um, but it showed me the stuff I did want to make, and I am so glad I made it, even though I didn't finish it. And I chose not to finish it. Like just start making a thing that you think you want to make,
Yeah.
and it'll show you where you should go.
Yeah, it's so true. Like I have like failed game projects, failed um, book projects, all kinds of things. But then I have completed ones too. So
Yeah.
like It just
Yeah. Well, I think you
yeah.
have unfinished ones. They might not be failed
Unfinished
if
ones.
they
Yeah,
if
yeah,
it
yeah. That's a
led to
good
something
point.
else. Yeah.
Unfinished. I like that. I like that. Awesome. Well, Sean, it's been a real pleasure having you.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you
been
so
fun.
much for joining us. If people want to reach you, I mean, we will put the links
Mhm,
below the video, but just so that they
mhm,
hear from you, like where can they reach you? Where can they connect with you?
mhm. So probably the best place is to DM me at Sean Keeton Art on Instagram.
Okay.
And then my email also is seankeeton@gmail.com, but I am better at seeing the DMs than the email. So
Okay, awesome.
yeah.
All right, great. And then for all of you watching, thank you so much for being a part of the summit. We're really excited to have you. And if you want to rewatch this video past the 3 seminar dates, or you didn't get to watch all the videos since we have so many speakers, then we invite you to upgrade to the All Access Pass, and you'll have those recordings for up to 12 months. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks again, Sean. Take care, everyone.